be a little bit of a delay.
Yeah, I know. There's usually like a 30-second delay after you hit
That's
the
why
go.
you're live now. So that's why it's got to. That's why. Okay, it says it's live.
Yeah, like I said, it's still on my end, still
And
waiting
so let me
for
see. Let me
you.
see on my
Up or up?
Oops. Okay, on the live on my iPad,
Hang
it's
on.
there.
I got to mute. Okay, I muted.
Okay, yeah, you got to mute.
Okay, yeah, I muted it, and
You see, you
we are
should see. I can
live.
see
We are
it.
publicly live
We are
right now.
publicly. I'm going to hit the like button. You should hit the like button too.
I hit the like button right now. Yep, I hit the like button.
Okay, so this will be the format. So you see how it looks? That looks pretty good, right?
Yeah, I'm too dark. I'm
Hey,
gonna
Jimmy
need to pull the
Farmer.
light in.
Jimmy Farmer's here.
Hey, Jimmy, how you doing, my man?
We're just running a test, Jimmy. We'll hang out for a bit, but we're just going through some technical stuff. I don't even know. I wouldn't even say it's technical difficulties because it actually looks pretty good, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm too dark. But
Well,
so
that's
I'm gonna.
yeah. You gotta. You just need. Don't you have a video?
Yeah,
light?
I'm gonna have to put the lights back up. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm too dark right now.
Yeah. So it's not too
How
bad.
is
It's actually
Jimmy?
not.
If you're listening, bro, how is my audio level compared to Dave's? Because we were having some really weird mic issues.
On the OBS meter, it looks about the same.
Yep. Okay, Jimmy's texting me at the same time now.
Oh, very nice.
Jimmy, stop texting me. God damn it.
And then I can figure out. Well, I'll have to figure out how to get my audio mic and your audio mic in OBS separate. Although I can control it from the Revelator, which is what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
David, your thing is too dark. That's what he
Yes,
says.
I know.
So
yeah,
you gotta turn
I
on your
do know.
lights. Do you have a light? Your lights handy or no?
Nothing handy. No, I got to set them. I put them all down. I pulled them all down last time I rebuilt the studio, so I have to set all that back up.
Well, I'm looking at you on
Okay.
my iPad, and it is a little dark, but it's not like you're not
Yeah.
like dark. You're like a little darker than me because I have video lights.
Yeah. Okay. Just
Oh yeah,
turn up
that's
regular lights in the
no.
room,
That'll be a lot better. Actually.
Yeah. Well, I ain't gonna leave it like that for a real stream. Believe me.
No, but that
You know?
no, that'll look. Let me see when it gets to YouTube here.
Yeah. Yeah. Jimmy, my mic is just an Audio-Technica USB mic, an AT2020 USB. I'm gonna have to switch out to a different microphone and run it through my interface for the
Yeah,
for a
now
real
your
stream.
video's nice and bright.
Yeah. But I don't want the background to show that much.
No,
That's
no,
why
I
I'm gonna
know,
have
but
to
no, but
change
for
it.
tonight it's okay. I mean,
Yeah,
you
cool.
just get a. Oh, and by the way, I don't know what kind of video lights you have, but I got really small ones for the desk. I got plenty extra ones, dude. Don't buy
Yeah.
anything. If
Yeah,
you-
I've got a couple little LED panels that I haven't used yet. I'll have to try them.
okay.
So, but yeah, I've got lights too. I just haven't ever. I've actually got a green screen. I've just never actually used it.
Okay. Yeah, I was just gonna say, don't buy anything light wise without
Yeah.
talking to me first, because I could probably hook you up if you need something.
Right.
Hey,
Yeah.
we got a few people here.
Yeah. How do we know that was going to happen? We go
Yeah.
live. People are going to pick it up.
I guess what we're doing tonight, guys, is well, this is a kind of a test. We have not run a live stream together where we're in two separate locations, and Dave's coming in through on Skype. So I wanted to make sure this was all going to work. So when we do a live stream for real, we don't look like complete fools. And surprisingly, it actually worked pretty good. We just got to work on Dave's lighting and his audio a little bit. But,
And a better background.
and a better background, but that's just minor. But we got it to work, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
So we're kind of just testing this stuff out. Immaculate says the audio is good. Good. Lito's
Yeah.
here. Hey, what's up, man? How are you? Good to see you.
Lito. Yeah, I recognize a couple names up there.
Yep.
Kaiser's here. That's is that Ian? That's Ian, right? Yeah.
Yep. And
Yeah.
then Jimmy says he thinks you'll do fine with real video
yeah.
lights. He has lights. He just doesn't have
Yeah,
them
I
set
have
up.
them. I just got to set them up.
Yeah.
So,
So-
I wasn't expecting us to go live. I thought we were just doing a test tonight.
Well, the only
I
way
would've worn it for
test
sure.
it is to go live, right?
I would have worn a different shirt if I'd known we were going to go live.
Well, we got it. You got it. The only way to test it is to actually do it, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So that, there's no.
But it's
other-
actually like this is one of those real 21st century things that, we're sitting here freaking, 100 miles apart, doing a real time live stream on freaking YouTube.
doing a real time live stream. That's what's
Yeah.
really cool.
It's just bizarre, man.
But it works.
It does. It's
But
strange.
it works. But it works. So yeah. So when we do one for real in the
Yep.
next few weeks or whatever, well, we're going to take all of your questions if you have any. We haven't been on here with you guys live in months, right?
It's been months. Yeah. I mean, was the last time we went live? The last time we went live, was it
time that you mixed.
other than rebuilding the racks? It was my live stream
Yes,
mix.
that was it.
you know, and I think we did the one live stream for the rack rebuild after my live stream mix. I think that was the last time. So that was
months ago.
Wow, that was a while ago.
Many months ago.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, we need to go. I've said that before too. I mean, I think the guys in the chat would agree with me. We really do need to go live more. You know?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, well, you know, we test it out and see, and well, like you said, you see what kind of who shows up and what people want to talk about, and if we can help people and they want us to go live, we'll do it. If not, then we won't. You know.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Yeah, we'll certainly do them. You know, occasionally at the very least, right?
when there's something to say, you know,
when there's something to talk about, right?
Yeah, I mean, because we could, you know, we've seen enough live stream. We've seen enough people go live out there, you know, on other channels that just, you know, you go live for the sake of going live, and you say the same things every week.
Yeah, well, yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And I don't, you know, the last thing I think either one of us want is for this channel to become predictable.
No, like I said, unless there's a real reason, or if we go live every so often because people have a whole ton of questions they want to ask us live, then that's cool. Then we'll do that regularly. And if not, then we'll, like you said, when something special comes up or something new or whatever, then we'll do it. You know.
Yeah, Kaiser Soze, Pulsar Massive EQ. Any thoughts? Okay, first of all, I have it. I've just played around with it a little bit. I'll be straight up. Pulsar does not make a bad plugin. Period. Mm-hmm. I don't think David, you've never used any Pulsar stuff, right?
No, but I know they make it 1178.
Yeah, they do not make a bad plugin.
Yeah, I've never used them though. You're right. I haven't.
Yeah, I have them all and I use them a lot. The 1178 is a fantastic plugin. The Mu compressor is really good. I think the only one that to me that's a little bit like the one that you would put in last place is their Smasher, which is an all buttons in blue stripe emulation. Okay. And it's cool, but it does one thing. It's very one dimensional. But their other ones, their Echo Rec is incredible. The 1178 is really good. The Mu is really good. The Massive, from little I've played with it up to this point in time, the Massive is really good.
Yep.
So, you know, and because you put the review out today of the kit plugin, the MoQ.
The MoQ.
Which is pretty damn good too. So I mean, cool. There's a couple really good EQs that just came out. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So, you know, and that's funny too, because you're with the kit plugins, their two core plugins to me are just they're basic, you know, they're nothing special.
They're kind of average.
Yeah, but the Bluebird stuff is really good. You know, so yeah, so, you know, that's interesting to me, you know.
Yeah, so, I don't know Pulsar. I mean, I know of them. I've just never gotten around to trying them.
Yeah. Well, it's like I say, I mean, I have all of them, and like I say, they are on my list of developers that when you put a plugin out, I'm buying it, period. Pulsar is one of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Pulsar's on that list. You know, they put a plugin out, I'm buying it, period. There's no questions asked. They are that good, you know, to me. You know, I mean, the thing with it too is I mean, there's probably 4 or 5 different Echo Rec plugins out there. And I have, I think, 3 of them. To me, the Pulsar one is head and shoulders better than all the rest of them.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, to me, that they are that good. And like I said, and nobody else has done a 1-to-1 emulation of the Pulsar Massive Passive that I've ever seen.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
So you know, so that right there, that's a big deal. And they, with as much care as they put into what they do, yeah, I bought it as soon as I got the email. I bought it without even hearing it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I bought it without. I didn't need to. You know, it was like one of those things. It's like they're one of those companies where, like, you know, they're like Kazrog. Kazrog puts a plugin out, I'm going to buy it. Mm-hmm. You know, so like I said, that they're in that category. So you should try them sometime. Jed, you should demo them out once and just check them out. You may like them, even though
I thought Pulsar you couldn't demo, or was it? That, or was it Noise Ash you told me about? One of those
No,
companies you told me about you
Noise
can't
Ash,
demo.
you cannot demo.
And I just said, well, I'm not going to buy them just to demo
Yeah.
them, you know.
No, Noise Ash you can demo, but they drop out like every minute.
Oh yeah,
like,
that was it. Every 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, well, that's crap. That's not.
Yeah.
I hate when
Yeah.
developers do that. If you're not going to give somebody a, a demo for at least 7 days, a fully functioning demo, I'm not even gonna. I don't care how good your stuff is. I won't buy it because to me that's kind of lame that a company would do that. Where every 10 seconds the audio is going to cut out. How can you demo a plugin proper that way?
Yeah. Well, Pulsar, for your knowledge, Pulsar is a full feature 14-day trial demo.
Oh, okay, good. Then all right, then it would be worth looking at as long as you can demo it.
Yeah, you get a 14-day free. You get a full 14-day demo.
Yep.
They have 5. They have the massive passive, the 1178.
Yep.
The the Smasher, which again it's a blue stripe, all buttons in.
Yep.
The Mew and the Echo Rec. And like I said, I have all of them and I love all of them. And yeah, they're definitely on my list of never getting rid of.
Cool.
You know, yeah, Jimmy, get the Echo Rec one. You want it. Trust me, you want it.
There you go. So there you go. So there's your plug-in question answered.
Yep.
What other questions do you have? Does anybody have any questions for us? Seeing as we haven't talked to you guys in ages.
Yeah. Hey, Jimmy's on vacation again.
Oh, good for you, Jim. Good for you. Go on vacation.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nope. Jimmy goes on vacation a lot, dude.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
Nope.
Nothing wrong with that.
Wow, that's terrible. What's terrible, Jimmy?
So what we have coming up here, just so you guys know, over the next, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 weeks maybe, is we do have more videos coming, some gear demos. We're going to be doing an 1176 shootout of the 3 audio-scape units, which is the 76A blue stripe, the black, which is the D, the 76D, and the 76F. So that's going to be coming soon. We're going to do a video on the API 5500 EQ compared to the Wave 55 or 560, or 550, excuse me, 550 EQ plugins, and maybe even the universal audio ones, because that's kind of what that EQ is. What else? What other videos do we have coming? We got, we have the hybrid, getting started with hybrid for beginners, or whatever we're going to call it, video, right?
Yeah.
That we're going to reshoot. We got that coming. And there's a whole bunch of others. There's a whole list of them that I have, but those are the ones that come to mind off the top of my head. The ones we're going to be doing shortly. So that's what's going to be coming soon, unless you guys have any other video ideas out there in the interwebs land, any other kind of demos or things, or just videos, you know, that you want us to do around the gear or the console or both or whatever.
Yep.
You know, I think we've done all the install stuff we could possibly do.
Yeah, I don't think there's much install left to talk about.
Not really.
You know,
not really.
Yeah, I mean, we do have a live stream mix of me coming up one of these days as soon as I can get back on the board.
Yep.
You know, is your album done now? Did you get the final feedback yet, or no?
No, I got one more song to do.
Okay, you haven't done it yet then.
No,
okay.
I got the session, but I'm setting it up. It's a big session, so it's going to take a lot of prep.
Yeah.
So yeah, that will hopefully, that song should be done and everything should be done by the end of next week. That's my plan anyway. I mean, that's the plan. You know, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
But that is the plan, is to be done by the end of next week, if at all possible.
Right.
So yeah, and then that album's completely done, completely finished. And then we'll be able to talk about it publicly. I've already gotten permission. Hey Lito, yeah, Patch Bay video, that's on the list too. Yep, yeah. We have one on but you want to know how to use a Patch Bay, that video's on the list for sure.
Yeah, I mean, what are we talking about for a Patch Bay video? We're talking about like
how to use it. No,
so basically, basic concept and execution kind of a thing.
Yeah, we did the how do you install it with the D subs and the basic preliminary stuff early on, but that's back when we only had 1 or 2 Patch Bays. But now that we have all 4 and everything's functioning, we could do that. So that'll certainly will certainly happen. But
Right.
yeah, once the record is done, I've already gotten permission to not only share well, for mixingmadeeasy.net, and again, we're talking about mixing. If any of you guys here want, you should check out mixingmadeeasy.net if you're not a member. We could do as many as we want, mixes from this record. So the members over there will get at least, two. This year we'll do probably 2 songs or 3 maybe,
Yeah.
where you guys will get a chance to mix some of this record. Where I got permission to use them on YouTube by the band. So
Shit, really?
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know that I have carte blanche to use the whole record on YouTube, but I do have permission to use at least a track to start of my choice, and I'm going to work with them to see if they're releasing a single and I want to work that with when are they going to release the record? Do they have a single they're going to release first, and then maybe use that single to help get them some traffic? So,
Yeah.
so we at least have one. I don't know that YouTube won't copy claim the daylights out of it on me, but I can still put it on YouTube anyway.
Right.
The band at least is giving me permission to do that. So we'll do that, and probably do a kind of a mix breakdown, because I have, I'll probably, that's probably what we'll do on how I mixed whatever song it is.
Right.
And so, yeah, so we'll do that one, probably sometime in the summer, I would imagine.
Cool.
So yeah, so that'll all be coming. So that'll all be new content,
Yeah.
for these guys to check out, you know? So, but we'll definitely do a Patch Bay video. We'll definitely do the 1176 video.
Yep.
Yeah.
We did already shoot the beginner analog video, but apparently my mic was breaking up too much.
Yeah,
so
the video has to be completely reshot.
So we have to reshoot that. Plus, if we reshoot that, I'm bringing examples of stuff rather than just talking about it. So I think the reshoot, after having done it once and knowing now with the way I want it to go more, I think the second one might be better and more helpful.
Yep.
And probably longer. So
Yeah. Yeah. So it'll basically be a getting started with hybrid, just basics, what kind of equipment, how you kind of hook it up, that kind of thing, just for people that might be interested in, they're just starting out and they have maybe 1 piece of gear or 2 pieces of gear. What do you do?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that'll come too for sure. So we'll have that. That'll be like a 101 guide to getting started with hardware and hybrid and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a whole list. I mean, there's a whole I got a whole list of video ideas.
Yeah.
It's just going through them all and then seeing what everybody wants to see. Oddly enough, it just seems, when I just walk around with the iPhone and show them the equipment in the rack, those videos are very popular. when we actually sit down and mix and actually teach something, nobody seems to want to watch those.
Yeah.
So,
it's weird, I think, because I think like,
which is a little weird, but
at least up to this point, people are geeking out way more on the stuff than using it,
and that's fine. That's totally,
Yeah.
again, it doesn't make a difference to me. I mean, I don't, it's actually easier to just show what's in the rack. It's a lot of work to do a mix breakdown video and multiple cameras. It's a pain in the what to do those kinds of videos and edit them all and everything. So to me, it doesn't matter. Whatever you guys want to see is what we want to make. I don't want, I'm not going to make stuff you guys don't want to watch. It just takes too long. It takes way too long. And so, Q&A videos. I started one of those today. One video dropped today. So as you got, because I do get a lot of questions in email. I just got one as we're sitting here. I haven't read it yet because it's like 3 pages long, the question. But
Dear Dave.
Well, that's what it is. Well, you know what it is, and it's cool because when you're talking about this kind of stuff, all the equipment, consoles, and all that, they have to kind of give you kind of the lay of the land of where they're at before they can ask the question, which is good because there's enough detail so I can process the answer in my head. Sometimes they don't give enough detail and they just ask a general question that I can't possibly answer. So the questions are more detailed, which is good because I can get a better response, but they take longer to go through. So what I do is I've been taking those questions, and although I'll answer them in an email, and I'm kind of cataloging them, 1 or 2 at a time or 3 at a time, and then I'm going to put those in video format. So then I also have, when people ask the same questions over and over again, I can just now refer them back to a video and
Right.
say,
Yeah.
here's the link, go watch it. I answered this question already. That's kind of
Yeah.
how I've been doing it, which is one of the reasons why the video that dropped today, because I get
Hmm.
that question 3 times a week. So,
Yeah.
I don't have time to answer them anymore. And so
Yeah.
those kinds of videos are coming too. So I'm trying to mix it up between information, gear,
Yeah.
mixing. We're trying to really mix it up as
Yeah.
best we can. So,
Yeah, well, we see that a lot in the comments too anymore now too. Is like where you get a comment under like a recent video where they're asking something that we've covered exhaustively in previous videos, and it's like,
yeah, and again, I understand it's
yeah,
not their fault because they're new to the channel, and so they're asking questions we've already answered 20 times in different videos. But because
yeah,
they haven't watched all the videos yet,
yeah,
that might be the first video they've seen, and so they don't know. And I understand they don't know, and
yeah,
and again, some of the answers take more than just a yes no. It's got to be elaborated or detailed. So that's why I want to do it in video, so I can send the
yeah,
link and just go here, just watch this, and your questions are answered.
yeah,
So that'll So I'm trying that to see how it goes.
yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
We got Kaiser saying any new gear in the future by any chance? God, I hope not.
Nothing. Nothing in the immediate future.
Yeah.
There's enough gear back there that you
Oh,
really
hell
don't need
yeah.
it. And one again, probably. I mean, as far as compressors and EQs, and not really. I mean, there's enough flavors in those racks now and I don't use them on every mix, all of them. I mean,
Yeah.
so there's no reason. One of the things that I want to make sure I don't get into is, the kind of the problem you get into in the box of plugins where you have so many choices
Hmm.
that you spend half your time trying to figure out what you want to use instead of
Yep.
just using it. Because when you're dealing with these, when you have the classic pieces, 1176, LA2A, Pultex, a Verymu, a VCA, you got them all. It's like they're on a million records for a reason because they
Yeah.
sound great. And so how many more do you need? And you know what I mean? Where,
Yeah.
sometimes we've all done it in the box where it's like, okay, well, which 15 LA2As do I want to pick today? And you end up spending half your time scrolling through the window browser than you do mixing the records. And so,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I'm going to try to
Yeah.
limit the gear for the most part.
I'm like the I'm like the poster child for choices on
Yeah.
plugins.
Yeah,
So,
and that's cool, but
yeah.
on this channel where it's more hardware oriented, it's
Yeah.
like limitations are your friends, man. And so unless there's a real need or something totally different or something really unique that we don't already have, probably not.
Yeah.
Not anytime soon anyway.
All right. And then Lito Rodriguez, this is my thing here. Lito Rodriguez, analog workflow. What does it look like in a home studio? Does that make sense? Yes, it makes perfect sense, the question. And that's exactly the video we're going to be making, hopefully next weekend, of me basically going through basically beginner analog, which is like, I mean, I'm beyond beginner analog, but it wasn't that long ago that I just got started with it myself.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to go through, like the basic steps of how to get started. What equipment do you absolutely have to have available to you? How do you interface everything together? And then how do you grow it? And especially the big question is, what makes the most sense to start with?
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna address all of that in a video. Hopefully we're gonna cut that next Saturday and get that ready to go. Hopefully, I don't know, sometime in July at this point, I think is where we're at on the schedule.
Yeah, late June probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I
So,
can. No,
yeah,
I mean, I can
we'll
shuffle
we'll
things around. It could come out sooner, but certainly we're going into June next week. So you're
Yeah.
probably looking at 2-3 weeks. It's usually about 2 weeks or 3 weeks after we shoot it by the time it's edited and scheduled. So probably by
Right.
the end of June.
Okay.
Probably by the end of June is
Right.
what
So
it kind of does.
We'll get that up. We'll get that up, and it'll be a pretty solid walkthrough about what you want to start with, and and so forth. And like I said, it's keeping it, also trying to keep it pretty budget, because
Yeah, budget friendly.
right now I'm the test case in how much money can you spend in a short period of time. on stuff, because it's funny too, because like, I mean, I should give you the pictures to put in the video of where this was a year ago.
Yeah, you definitely should give me if you have those
Yeah.
available.
Yeah,
Just as
because
kind of
I
showing.
have pictures
Yeah,
of I have pictures of when I installed this desk
yep.
to what it is now, literally just a year later. And
And
it's
could you also too, as a thought, maybe even just with your phone, when you
yeah,
before you, is to walk through and show people. Can you talk through a video and just show people on video,
yeah,
and I can insert that in our final video, like is with your
yeah,
photos and stuff. Maybe
yeah,
I can, so people can actually see it other
yeah.
than just photos.
Yeah, I could definitely do a guerrilla video with the
Yeah,
phone of just a quick walkthrough of
yeah,
what's
yeah,
on the desk and
yeah.
what's in the racks
Yep.
and everything else. Yeah, I could do that
That
easy enough.
that would be good. That would be good.
I mean, like, the one thing I'm not going to do is pull the desk out so they can
No,
see
no,
the
no,
the,
no,
the cable management behind
no.
it.
They
But
don't
yeah,
need to
I
see
could
that.
I could definitely show them the rest of it. It's like, because this, like I said, from what it was, I have a picture of what this desk looked like the day I installed it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and with the equipment that I had in it that day compared to what I have now.
Right.
And so, like I said, so I'll get those pictures up for it, and then I'll do a guerrilla video of a walkthrough of the equipment and the workflow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And how I have it all wired together into the patch bays and everything else, and give you that as well. And then we can fold all that into the video, of what, and like I said, it's a pretty good walkthrough about where, like, this is where you start and this is how big it can get.
Yeah.
And still literally it fits in a desk that's 5 feet wide. The whole thing fits in a desk. It's vertical, but it fits in a desk 5 feet wide, and I can sit in front of it and I can work comfortably on it.
Mm-hmm.
In what is, as you can see behind me, my bedroom.
Right. So that is a home.
So,
that's the epitome of a home studio. I mean, that's what it is.
This is the definition of a
Right.
bedroom studio.
Yeah.
It is a studio in my bedroom, in my very tiny apartment, and so, like I said, as far as like contrasting from like what you've built for yourself to what I've built for myself.
Yeah.
And I do blame you for a lot of this. You are responsible for a lot of this in your own way, because you're a terrible influence on me.
You said go ahead and buy it. You told me to buy it.
Yes, I did. I'm the one that said, "Hey, Dave, it sounds great. Yeah, let's get an SSL." And oh shit, I forgot about me.
Yeah. So no, we're gonna do that. That'll be awesome. That'll be a great video because no one's really done anything like that either. So that'll be a good video for sure. Jason says he does hybrid with analog with a SSL 6. Oh yeah, the desktop mixer, and some 500. That's cool. Yeah, somebody asked me, Jason, about the just the other day. Someone emailed me and said they asked me if I had any experience with the 6 desktops compared to the sound of an Origin, and the truth is I've never used one, so I couldn't compare the two. But I would imagine that they both sound similar in that it's SSL circuitry and it's SSL's kind of thing, so it's going to have that SSL sound in a small package.
Oh, I was under the impression that the 6 was basically a simplified version of what's in the Origin as far as EQ and stuff is concerned.
It probably is. I mean, I don't know.
I was under that impression that the 6 was basically that structure, just really simplified.
Yeah, it could be. I don't know. I didn't read up on it, but it's a fairly new mixer. It came out not too long before or after they all came out right around the same time. They released a whole bunch of products in that 2019, 2020 timeframe. And so, I'm sure that it's very similar, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Jason said it's based around the super analog sound. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm sure it's a great mixer. I mean, SSL doesn't make bad products per se. So, I mean, anything you buy from them, is going to be good. And those mixers are not inexpensive either, by the way. Yeah, they're expensive. So, So that's awesome, Jason. That's really great, man. Congratulations.
Juan Leone in the house.
Hey, Juan, what's up, buddy? It's a tiny Origin, fully analog. Yep, some of the same routing options. Great, yeah. Yeah, it's. I'm sure it's. Again, I've seen photos of it. I've just never used one,
Yeah.
but I'm sure it's great. You know, I'm sure it's
Yeah.
really great.
Yeah.
And so
It would
yeah,
it would it would be something for me to consider in here, but no. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, it depends on. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, you know.
yeah. Tracklight Production says, "Are what are they? $3,000? Oh, he must be talking about those SSL. I think so. I think they're in that $2,000 to $3,000 or $4,000 range. I know they're not cheap, and again, it's because they're SSL. They're high quality stuff. That's not like buying a Mackie mixer. It's not the same thing. I know people think it's the same thing. It really isn't. I mean, there's a so I'm sure
Yeah.
they're pretty pricey.
The regular 6 is 1550 on sale, and the big 6 is $3,000.
Oh, the big 6. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah. There's a
yeah.
6 and a big. What's the difference?
The big 6 is a lot more channels. Yeah,
Okay,
the
more
big 6 is,
faders and whatnot.
yeah, more channels, more knobs.
Okay, cool. So the 6 is like $1,500, and the big 6 is like twice that.
Yeah, and what's even more interesting too is they also came out with a 500 series 6-channel strip, which is like the very basic EQ and very basic dynamics in one little 500 strip.
That's kind of nice.
I'm gonna have to put that on the wish list,
Yeah.
David.
How much is that one?
$500.
Oh, really?
Yeah, $500. I'm gonna have to put that on the wish list.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, because my carrier is gonna be here probably tomorrow.
You got to put something in it.
Well, yeah, but I gotta pay for it first.
Yeah, I hear you. Kaiser says you got an SSL 6 for $1,100. Oh, cool. That's a good price on that then.
That's a killer price for it.
Dark Joint says, Dave, get the big 6. He must be talking to you because
No. Right now, I'm trying to pay off this right now at this very moment in time. I'm trying to pay off a Fusion. I just finished paying off the Black Lion compressor, the B172A, which, by the way,
you like that.
Anybody thinking about going analog, the Black Lion B172A, yeah, you want that.
You said you like that one. Yeah.
Yeah, you really want that. And I literally, like, on FedEx right now, not out for delivery yet, is a 10 space radial 500 rack. So yeah, no, I'm not buying a 6 right now.
Tracklight says, I wish the onboard EQ were fully parametric. Okay, but the cost of substantially with SSL. Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, for $3,000, bro, you are not going to get a fully featured anything from SSL.
No, or from any company though. Really, I mean,
yeah, no.
What do you think? What do you think you're going to get from Neve for $3,000?
Yeah, well, like you said, you're going to buy a Mackie, or something like that, And listen, nothing against Mackie.
No, but they're more live. That's not.
Yeah,
it's analog, but that's not the same. It's not the same thing. I mean, it is. I guess technically, it's analog circuitry. But Mackie is really more where people use like bands, live bands and those kinds of things, little club bands.
Yep.
But today everybody's now using, digital boards for live, like the Studio Live and the Behringer. I mean, if you're playing live, that's what you want to use.
Yeah, I know, like the Midas one, not because Behringer owns Midas now anyway, but the Midas one, a lot of people are going to that Midas live mixer, and apparently it's a killer unit. So
well, it's all digital. It's got all the plugins for all the compression EQ. It's got onboard multi-track recording. I mean, you really can't beat that. I mean, to do an analog setup in a live room, those days are gone. At least at least for most people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's funny too. There was what the hell was it? There was some kind of a mixer on Craigslist here that they had used in a church's social hall. And it would have been it was it an Allen and Heath? It was either an Allen Heath or a Soundcraft 16-channel mixer, and it was actually one that I considered buying for a little while, and they wanted like $500 for it, and I was holding myself back. You know, because like I said, I just don't have the room for something like that
They take up a
yet.
lot of
And,
space.
yeah, and for that matter too, if I'm gonna buy a desk, I'm gonna buy a desk. I'm not gonna buy a toy. You know what I mean?
Well, that's exactly what I said when I bought that Origin. Before, when I was looking at a console, I looked at some of like the tabletop ones, like the
Hmm.
XL, and I just said, those are really cool. There's nothing. They're great. They're great units. But I just thought, if I'm gonna go down this road, I'm going all the way. If you're going in the deep end of the pool, you're going all the way in the deep end of the pool. I'm not
Yeah,
going halfway there. And
yeah,
and I'm going. I want to.
yeah.
If I'm going to do this, I'm going to get the big boy stuff, or I'm not doing it. That's
Yeah.
But I'm just an idiot. I'm an idiot like that. So
Yeah. Well, I know too. It's like I kick myself hard because last year when we were barely started with this,
mhm.
but last year on Craigslist here, somebody was telling a Toft Engineering 32 channel board
Yeah, you told me that. You said
for
for like
like,
a
yeah,
thousand
but
bucks or
I'm
something.
sharing with the world right now. I'm sharing my pain with the world because they were selling this freaking Toft board that looked, from what I could see of it, like it was in ridiculously good shape for 5 grand.
Mm.
And I said, no, I wouldn't know what to do. Where would I put it and stuff? And now I kick myself for not doing it and just putting it away somewhere,
Putting in
for the
storage.
future. It was
Right.
$5,000, man. It was, and because Toft is they basically just ripped off old Neve boards and built their own thing.
Yeah, Toff makes good stuff.
Yeah, and I was like, oh crap. Now I look back at that and like, shit, I should have just bought that thing and stuck it out in the storeroom and left it there
Right.
for the day where I do have room to put it in somewhere. I kick
Right.
myself for that now.
Right.
So
Yeah. No, I hear you. What are you gonna do? Jason says I don't have space for the big boy stuff, but it sure made mad jealous. Well,
yeah.
you got to have the room, that's for sure. Believe me, you have to have a full room to do what I'm doing here. You can't do this. I mean, I guess you could squeeze it into a small room, but man, I don't know.
I mean, listen, I could take the bed out of here and
I don't
sleep
know.
underneath the damn thing.
Well, then there you go. As long as
You
you
know?
got the room is big enough, you just got other
Yeah.
crap in the way.
Yeah, I just got to get the bed. I get the bed
All
out of
right.
here and move some other crap out of the way. I'll put the damn thing in here. I'll just put the bed under the board and sleep there.
There you
I
go.
mean,
Now you can buy one. See? Now you can buy one.
thanks, Dave. Really need the encouragement
Yeah.
right
Go
now.
buy one.
You know how bad I want to do that. I mean, even go get one of those tridents or something like that. I mean, but
I know someone that has tried it and he really loves it. His YouTube channel is called Ultimate Studios Inc.
yeah, I've
His
checked him
his
out.
name is Charlie. I talked to Charlie last week for the first time on Zoom. We're gonna do a live stream together. He's a really great, seems like a really good guy, really well educated in this stuff. He does pretty much full and not all analog, but mostly. And he
Mostly,
uses a Trident 78 and he loves Trident.
Mm-hmm.
Loves it. I mean, he
Yep.
loves it. And so, yeah, he's a big Trident guy and he knows all about that. And he's been one for a long time. I guess it's just something he just always really liked. Nice guy, though. Really. So
Yeah.
if you don't know about him, go check him out. He's Ultimate Studios Inc., I think is the name of his YouTube channel. Tell him I
Mm-hmm.
sent you. He's a nice guy.
Yeah. Let me see if I can do a quick link into him for you. Let me
Yeah,
see.
yeah. See if you can link it up there.
Yeah.
Lido says last 3 live shows I went to Bluesy Rock, had digital live sound set up, and it sounded very tinny. Okay, like everything under 3K was buried, low end was totally missing, sounded awful. Yeah, but that's not that. Well, I mean. But that's not because it's a digital board. That's because the person that was running sound doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's all the room. I've listened to and been in rooms and used to run sound with the Studio Live when it first came out. And I ran sound in a club for a year with the original 24.1.1 board, which is before the Series 3 with the touchscreens. And
Mm-hmm.
it had compression EQ, but you didn't have plugins like the new ones have. But it was still a digital board. And I'll tell you what, the sound was massive. You have to know how to set up a room. Running live sound is not easy. Mixing live sound in a room is much harder than mixing it in a control room that's
Mm-hmm.
completely treated. So I wouldn't say, Lido, that it was maybe the equipment, it could be, but probably more the room and the person running the equipment doesn't know how to set up a room.
Yeah.
That's probably what it was. I wouldn't think it's because that low end stuff was missing. The low end is missing because either they don't have the right set of subwoofers, the right speakers for the room, and or it's not set up right, and you have that
Yep.
bass null like you can in a control room.
Yeah, you get when you're doing live mixing, you get, if the room isn't well done, you get some really terrible standing waves, and like
Yeah.
the church I grew up in, that room had a massive standing wave at 1.1K. I mean, it was fingernails on the chalkboard annoying. And you could not mix around it. Everything you heard in that room just had that scream coming out of it all the time.
Yeah.
And like you could notch out everything from 1 to 1500 and it was still there.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
I mean, so if you have a bad room, you have a bad room.
Yeah.
So, and there's no way to get around it. I mean, that's what's nice about a studio environment is, because even like a bedroom studio like this, there's a lot of natural absorption in this room.
Mm-hmm.
And carpeted floors, and there's not a blank space of wall in the entire room. And so, like I said, like mixing in this room is actually really good because the room itself is damn honest,
Yeah.
Except for, like I say, when I did the curve analysis, there's this really nice hump, in the lows, but I like that because I like a lot of bass when I mix. And so, like, if I mix it the way I like the sound, I'm hearing that hump. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not in the actual mix because I'm hearing it in the room, but it's not going into the mix.
Right, because of the room. Right.
Yeah. So like
right.
I get the bass level out of the room I like, but it's not affecting the mix in a negative way. That's also what's important about understanding your room.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people haven't taken the time to understand the room that they're mixing in.
Right.
And like I said, I analyzed the room, and it's pretty honest, except for that big hump in the low end. And like say, okay, and I'm looking at that hump, but well, are you going to use the correction part of the software? I'm like, no, because I want that hump in the low end in here so I can mix into it and have the bass I want, but not have it be overpowering for anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, it's important that you understand the room.
Right. Yep.
What did I use to analyze my room? I used the IK multimedia, whatever the hell that thing's called.
Yeah,
I got the program and the mic.
I think it's called ARC. ARC.
Yeah, ARC software.
Yeah,
I got the software and the mic, and it works fine. Like I said, because I'm not using it for the actual room correction. I just used it to analyze the room.
Yep.
And I did it twice.
Mm-hmm.
So that I knew that at different times, so I knew that the arc was, I knew that the analysis was probably pretty close to being dead on. So yeah,
Yep.
But like I said, it's but that's the kind of thing, like you can get if you time it right with IK, you can get that thing for practically nothing.
Oh really?
So,
yeah.
Yeah, you just have to time it right. Yeah,
so. you got to know the room, you got to know the environment, you got to know that the mixes translate. That's way different than live. Yeah. And so live is just a whole different animal, and it's like anything. It's a craft. It's a skill. Good live sound guys really are good engineers and know what they're doing. Yeah,
they are too, and a lot of bands I know around here too are like good sound guys are very hard to find.
They are. When I used to work
when you find one, you keep his name in your keep his name in your phone.
Yeah, I worked live sound for a few years prior to this studio of my own. And so most the same thing, most live sound guys that I would either work with or was in the circuit of the clubs I was working, most of them were terrible. Mm-hmm. Most of them were just, musicians that thought they knew something about sound and really had no understanding. Yeah. And like you'd be standing in the room and it would be so ear-splitting loud, because they didn't understand how to balance things. They didn't understand how to dial in the room. They didn't understand any of that stuff. They just like loud music, and the audience doesn't like loud music. Mm-hmm. When I would mix for sound live, you could stand literally 5 feet in front of the band, in front of the stage, and you could lean over to the person next to you and talk to them and not feel like your ear is like ready to fall off.
Yeah.
You know, because
And also, but if you balance it right, you can talk to the guy next to you without disturbing the guy behind you.
right. I mean, there is a
You
way
know?
to do it, but a
Yeah.
lot of it is the room and the
Hmm.
limitations of the room sometimes. So if you're like a club band and you're traveling
Yeah.
around the different pubs and stuff, pubs are not set up for live sound
Oh God,
where they
no.
just throw a band in the corner or they built a little
Hmm.
crappy stage. They're not set up for sound, but the clubs that are
Yeah.
set up to have live music, those are
Yeah.
the ones that typically sound better.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's just a whole different animal. So
Yeah.
again, I don't think that has anything to do with digital boards. I just think it's the people running the thing. That's all.
I agree completely because I mean a digital board is only going to sound as good as the guy turning the knobs,
Yeah, no
and
doubt, no
yeah,
doubt.
and it's the same with anything else. That SSL is only going to sound as good as the guy turning the knob. I mean, the
Yeah,
SSL sounds amazing.
yeah. You got to be a good. I think I said in one of. Oh no, you
Uh,
guys didn't see the video yet. I got so many video.
yeah.
There's a video. I don't remember. Actually, you may actually see it in the next 3 or 4 days. Anyway, it's one of the
Yeah.
Q&A videos. And one
Hmm.
of the things that I said was, it's actually, you actually have to be a better engineer to work on a console than to work in a box, without a doubt.
Agreed.
Because
Agreed.
there's
100%.
no presets on a console. You know what I mean? You got to really understand the way the gear works. You
Yep.
really have to understand gain staging way more than you need to understand it in the box, although you need to understand it in the box as well, but it's not
Yeah.
as critical.
Yeah.
It is way more critical in the analog domain. And
Hmm. You
so
you got to really understand.
you got to understand
E-
how it all
Yeah.
works.
Yeah, you also got to understand the EQ and how EQs on different channels are going to relate to each other.
Yeah, it's a
You know?
whole different thing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's why you can all have the same pieces of gear,
Hmm.
but they're all going to sound a little different in how you tweak them in. It
Yeah.
really is
Yeah.
different. Where so it's just a different animal altogether.
Hmm.
Malcolm says, not to change the subject. Hey, Malcolm, how you doing, buddy? But I just wanted to thank you guys. You both did a heck of a lot of work on the SSL board and the studio in general. Yep.
Hmm.
Thanks for all the really great content. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
That's really nice to hear, man. Thank
Yeah,
you
because
for
there was
that.
a lot of work, and we've taken a lot of flack. So it's
Yeah.
nice to hear some
Yeah.
nice words every once in a while.
Yeah, it's funny too because like the work idea too is like as like we live streamed that one rack rebuild, but
Yeah.
there have been hours and hours and hours spent working in that room that never made it to YouTube.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Know?
Some of that stuff we just couldn't
and
do it.
and like it's impossible at this point to quantify how many hours we've spent just working in the room.
Yeah.
And to make it where it is now. And listen, I'm proud of that room. I'm proud of
Yeah.
you for that room. I mean
Yeah,
that room is unbelievable. And then the last rebuild, which we really, as we said in the video, that we planned that last rebuild meticulously.
as much as possible.
Yeah, and it's the room is incredible now. Just being in the room is incredible now.
Yeah, no, it's a
So,
lot of fun, and it was a lot of work, but
Yeah.
it's I hope, I think we documented enough of it to really give people information on how it's really done, and then
Yep.
like we said, try to really you see all our growing pains right live. Most of those videos have very little editing in them. They're
Mhm.
all pretty much, that's the way you saw the videos, is the way it really happened in the room. I mean, that we didn't really change anything. I think we only, in certain videos, we sped up stuff just so,
Yeah.
where where you didn't need to hear what we were talking about, because we were probably just talking about stuff that had nothing to do with what we were doing.
Yeah.
But
Well, yeah, it would be 15 or 20 minutes of us trying to figure out why that signal's coming out that D sub and where the hell we want to put it.
yeah, so
You
it
know?
wasn't, but everything else was the way it really happens. And so,
Yeah.
I don't know that you could have, put together, I mean, you could have certainly put together a slicker production maybe, but
Mhm.
short of that, I don't know what other information we could have possibly put out there. I mean, that
Yeah.
it's about as real as it gets.
Yeah. Lito Rodriguez says to us he's got to run. Please,
Oh, see
please
you
let us
later.
know if there's anything we can do to help support this awesome community. Right now, Lito, just being here is the support
Yeah.
that we need. That's
Just
what we need right now. We just need you to be here.
just being involved and just being part of the conversation and being constructive, you know, as much as possible in the conversation. Because the one thing that I just don't want this, I won't let this channel run into is it's not going to turn into gear sluts or gear space. And that's why a lot of comments have to be deleted and people have to be blocked. And there are several videos where the comments are not even, they're turned off because I just, unless, because there's certain things, there's nothing to talk about. When we talk about the gear and we talk about the install and people have questions, as you know, so as long as you guys are interactive and try to help and share it with others, the community, that's the best way to support what we do.
Yeah. And you know, it's sad. It's sad for me that certain videos that we post, we can't turn the comments on.
No, because I got to read through all. I mean, I have to read through all of it.
It's really sad for me that that has to be that way. You know, because like the video you put up today too. The video you put up today was like, I mean, like you put it all on the table. That was, you know, the whole deck of cards is laid out on the table about why I did this. You know, but the comments are turned off because the bull crap that you're gonna get for it.
Oh, it's on. You don't even know that. You guys don't even know the half of it. It's really shocking to me. It really was. It was kind of you know when you get on social media, you know. I mean, I've been doing this 10 years, so I know what to expect in social media. But I never would have thought I would have got some of the backlash. But you know, that's okay. That's so. And unfortunately, because I don't want the comment section to turn into that, I have to approve and read all the comments. So there's no way for me to get around it. I either have to approve everything and not review them all and let everybody's comment fly, or I have to go through it and sift through it. And so I just don't think for people that want to really, I know for me, when I go to YouTube channels and I'm trying to like read and trying to learn something or get some information, if I see a bunch of hate in there, it turns me off to the whole channel and I don't want to. And so I don't want people to feel that way here. So that's why I go through it. And again, there's really no, if the video, you know, like today's video, what is anybody going to write in the comments that's going to add to the conversation? None. Yeah. So there's no reason for me to put that. But for all of our other videos, when we were talking about how we installed and all the lessons learned and all of those, well, there's a lot of comments in there where people were asking good questions, or people were, you know, clarifying things, and that's helpful. So if it's helpful, dialogue, I'm cool with it. Even if it's helpful, but you disagree, I let all the people that disagree with us or don't believe in this or whatever, that's okay. I let all those comments go through. It's only when they get nasty and disrespectful and rude to either me or you, or even people even other members in the comments. If people are rude to each other, I get rid of the people that are rude. Yeah. And that's all. And I just want to make it so it's a cool place where people don't have to, there's enough of that nonsense online. You don't want to have to come here and read through all that shit. And that's why I delete them. So
or like I say, turn the comments off. Because like you said too, the video you put up today,
there's no reason to have a comment section.
There's no conversation to be had. Right. You know,
I'm not going to debate with people anymore. I only, well, you're going to see there, that video is part 1 of 4. There were 4 questions that people ask all the time. That just happened to be question 1. I think on 2 days from now, part 2, every 2 days, part 2, part 3, part 4.
Gee, let me see if I can guess what one of them is. What do you do about recall?
No, that's not in the first 4. That is in, there's a whole separate video about recall that is already done that I think comes out sometime in June, where I discussed the whole recall thing. And in that question. So when people write in those questions and they keep in, people, like you said, they only saw one video. So they're new to the channel. So they're asking the questions that are totally legit. They just haven't seen all our videos yet. So I answered those questions in video, and now I can just email them the link and say, here's the link. You can watch the video and you can get your question. You can question why. But like I said, there's no reason for me to have comments up on videos that there's really nothing to say. I mean, you know what I mean? I don't know. It's kind of weird, but I just want to keep the community as clean as possible. That's all. That's, and it's really,
like I said, we're doing, and you know, people set it up in the comments too, is we're doing things nobody else does.
Well, and that in and of itself is going to bring a bunch of hate.
Yeah, and that yeah, that's gonna the two things, right? It's gonna cause an immense amount of hate because
Yes.
we're doing something unique. And the other side of it too is the fact that, you know, there's really not a lot of discussion because we're showing you everything. You know, I mean, like if people who've been following along from the beginning, there really shouldn't be all that many questions left unanswered
Yeah, unless you didn't
at
see
this
all the
point.
videos. That's
Yeah,
it. You know what I mean? And so
and like
that
this,
yeah.
and the one that kills me all the time, you know, and you know this too, is like, and I get it, I understand. How much did this cost?
Yeah, someone was doing.
No, why are you even asking that? You know,
Well,
I
some
mean,
people, I don't know. I mean, it's
yeah,
someone did ask, and I tried to. We went back and forth on a few comments. I had to eventually remove him and remove the comment because he couldn't stay polite. He had to get nasty and he had to get rude with me, and I don't
yeah,
understand why. I'm not gonna disclose my personal finances on YouTube. Sorry, folks.
yeah.
And I said, and like I said to him, look, I've told you what the origin costs. It's 50 grand. It's more than that now. You could go watch the videos. You could take a look at all of the rack updates, all the gear. You can write down the names of all the gear. Go to Sweetwater with a calculator and you can add
Hmm.
up what it all costs. I'm
Yeah,
not going to tell you what I paid for stuff, and I'm just not going to do that. Now, some people have written me emails about the financing piece of the console because they want, well,
yeah,
how do you finance? Like they were interested in the, what are the
yeah.
different ways to, do you have to just have 50 grand in cash? And I'm like, no, I didn't do that. I financed it. And they asked me
Hmm.
some information about what are there special companies? Did you go to a regular bank? And so I
Hmm.
helped them out with that information because they were just interested in, well, how do you finance something like that? And
Well, that to me, that's a reasonable
that's a
question.
reasonable
You know?
question. And I have no, and
Yeah,
I share the
yeah.
institution. I even sent the contact that I had. I said, look, if you want to check it out, this is the person I spoke to, and I gave them their phone number. And so that's all legit. Um, but short of that, you know, those are the only kinds of questions I'm going to answer about
Yeah.
finances. I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, it's
it,
like you said too. I mean, it's not hard to go to Sweetwater and look up how much an origin costs. It takes 2 minutes to go to Sweetwater and look up how much an
yeah.
origin
And
costs.
again,
You can go to audio-scape and look up how much the stuff costs. You
right.
can go, you know, and like, oh, well, how much do you have invested in cables? Well, we laid that out in that one video, exactly how many cables there are, you
Yes.
know.
Yep.
And like I said, there's 36 D sub cables. There's at least a dozen breakout cables, and then there's a
Yep.
whole bunch of other crap.
Well,
Go look them up, do the math.
right.
Yeah, is it a lot of money? Hell yeah, it's a lot of money. You worked your ass off for that, you know?
Yeah. And again, and a part of it too is I don't want, and I don't, we don't try, you know, I'm not bragging about this is not what this is. I'm not here, look at all my nice stuff. This is
Yeah,
about, we're
yeah.
trying to,
Look at me. Yeah,
no, this is about, look, this is a business for me. And I'm just trying to share with you a business expansion that I jumped down in and how
hmm,
it was going. And then so when people talk about money, I don't want it to come off the wrong way because I'm not trying. That's not if I'm not. That's not why we're doing. There wouldn't be a YouTube channel if I just wanted to show everybody all the fancy shit that I went out and bought. That's not what this is all about. Really, it
hmm.
isn't. And so when people ask those questions, I just try to ignore them,
Yeah,
or like I said, I try to have a reasonable conversation with somebody. And I knew after I responded to the first comment, I said, you know, just delete this guy because
yeah.
I know where this is going.
Yeah, this is gonna turn into a shit show really
And
fast.
it did. About 3 comments later, everything was,
Hmm.
you know, you don't even want to know it. So I just said, forget it. So anyway, it
Yeah,
is what
yeah,
it is. You know,
yeah,
I don't know. It is
yeah,
what it is. If
yeah.
you,
But it's like I said, like it's like I don't think you're gonna find two more real people on the internet in this particular thing. It's like, I mean, we are completely not afraid to show you how stupid we can be. Because boy, I'll tell you what, there have been
well,
some real stupid things.
well, and we're being, and the thing is, this is you will not find. I could promise you that you will not find a YouTube channel that talks about this subject of about hybrid analog and digital and all that. You will not find a channel that is more honest and transparent than us. Meaning,
Yeah.
we're not selling anything. We're not trying to convince you of anything. All we're
Mm.
doing is we're just sharing our experiences and we're learning live on camera. That's really all we're doing. And if we and that's why some videos we said things early on that we completely did a 180 on because we didn't know any better. And there's whether it's about the gear and the way we're going to set it up, or whether we think one sounds different or better than the other, and we're just learning and sharing. We're not here to try to, you know, make you become a disciple of one thing or another. That's not what we're trying to do. Some people think that's what we're doing. It really, truly isn't. You know,
Jason Buffin, we did not
Jason.
consider for 1 second soldering our own cables.
I know someone that did. Charlie over at studio. He did.
Charlie,
he
can do it. You want to do that. You go right ahead.
He did. He told me the story because the Trident isn't a decent. Is it the Trident? No, it's the interfaces that he uses are old IO. I think it's Motu. Somewhere between that and his Trident, they're not D-sub. He had to make his own. What do they call those cables? DL, is that it?
Yeah.
And he cut them all custom. He got a big roll and customized them all, soldered all his own pins. So
to me,
he did all that.
Yeah, to me, the idea of soldering a D-sub cable, I mean, because you're talking about 25 pins on each end of these really fine little wires.
Yeah, I don't know what the.
I am so completely not interested in taking the time to do that, because I mean that is so much work.
Yeah, he did them all. He customized them all to make sure he didn't have too much slack. He wanted them. He wanted to do it, and he didn't know how to do it, and he learned. And he, just like with us, he said, I must have made I don't know how many cables that the connectors all fell apart, but he learned how to do it, and so. He is a very similar studio to what we're doing, although he also is a tracking studio. He's out in Los Angeles.
He's a full service studio.
Full service studio, and he is he does a lot of great videos over there. Not a very large channel, but he does a lot of great content.
Yeah, and he's a radically cool dude.
He's very nice guy, and he's very knowledgeable about gear.
Would love to hang with him for a day once.
Yeah,
you know?
He's very, very knowledgeable, and he's really fun to talk with about gear and stuff, because he went through a lot of the same. He learned how to do this stuff, and he did it himself with his studio partner, and they learned. And he's got a cool channel. I really like him a lot. He's a good guy.
Malcolm, the D-sub coupler pieces that we got, you mentioned that they cause a problem with the signal flow. Yeah. Well, what we had was, David, you got those off of Amazon or someplace, those gender changers, the D-sub gender changers?
Yeah, they're the same ones that they sell. I didn't even realize Sweetwater sells that same exact changer. I didn't buy them there, though.
It was one of those things where, like, you join the two cables together, but you don't. I thought they were pretty solid, but we were taping them together, just for the safety's sake. But it was like certain pins obviously either did not make proper connection, or they made no connection at all. So you would be getting like the left but not the right, or the right but not the left, or you'd be only getting half a signal through it. You were getting like a very attenuated signal through it.
Yeah, you get left and right, but you could see it on the console. You could see the left and right meters were off about maybe 2 dB, 3 dB. I mean, and you could hear it in the room too. It wasn't just on a meter. I mean, you could hear wait, why is the panning leaning to one side? And it was I don't know. I don't know if it was the gender changer per se, or the two cables that we were trying to join up to it, and maybe the mating of those weren't right. Because what we learned about D-sub cables, because we've used every kind that they make pretty much, that those connectors are all a little different. The plastic or the metal housing and how that connects and sometimes interferes, if you have a cable right next to it, right? So I don't know what it was, and I can't say that once we determined that we knew for sure one of those setups weren't right. As soon as we said that, we said we're changing all of them. Even though there might have been a few that kind of worked out okay, but then we said, you know what, again, it's just like,
don't take chances.
Well, and it's like, what's that thing? Penny wise, pound foolish. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah,
And
yeah.
and we kind of fell into that trap a little bit too,
Mm-hmm.
because we didn't understand the planning as well as we should have, or as well as we
Yep.
thought we did, that
Yep.
every day was another trip to buying more cables. And, cables are a massive expense. And so we were trying to save a few bucks, do the right thing, try to be
Mm.
smart. And
Yep.
in the end, I ended up spending more money than we had to because I had to buy a lot of these cables twice.
Yeah. Malcolm, we were basically joining, they were mainly
They were
hoses
mainly
together.
hoses.
We were running we were running a 15-foot hose into
No,
a
it's a
3
10.
or 5-foot extension.
No, it was a 10 foot and a 3 foot or a four
Yeah,
foot.
yeah, right. Yeah, we were running joining a 10-foot to a 3-footer. And believe me, the hose cables just, straight connected were fine. But as soon as we put those gender changers in between and we started having massive problems.
Yeah, again,
So,
I don't know. Although, like
you
you
know,
said, and again, well, Dave, your whole studio is hosting. You have no
yes.
issues.
Yeah, I have no issues with a HOSA cable at all. This entire studio is HOSA Pro, and snakes and patch cables and whatever, but it's all HOSA. I've never had a HOSA cable fail, not once in this studio. And I've torn this studio down. Wow, I don't even want to think about how many times I've torn the studio down and put it back together. And I've never had a single cable failure at all. I've never had an attenuation problem or a polarity problem or anything else. So,
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
like for a home studio situation like this, the HOSA stuff is more than adequate. I mean, are there better cables out there? Yeah. Are they worth the investment? That's yours to determine.
Well, some of it also too could be, and again, just thinking about just when you talk about even XLRs or guitar cables, I think a lot of it also just to do with the length of cables. So if you're using like 10 foots, 5 foots, 12 foots,
Yeah.
you're using a more affordable cable is
Mm-hmm.
you probably get away with that a little bit more than
Yeah.
if you're going 20 foots or 15s or 20s and 25s. Those
Yep.
longer runs may have something to do with it. I don't know. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, again, I'm talking my opinion. I can't give anyone any, technical facts on this stuff. And some people will say, and again, we try, well, we never really got a chance to try this, but we wanted to know because I've heard many people tell me that Mogami Gold, the Mogamis that we have now, they sound better than more affordable cables. Now we were going to try to say, can we hear? Again, as a learning,
Yeah.
I don't know that you're going to be able to hear the difference, but I thought, geez, wouldn't it be interesting? We ought to check out. Can we actually hear the difference between a Mogami Gold and a $50 HOSA cable? It would be interesting to know.
Yeah, but how do you,
I,
like if you
well,
run?
I think you'd have to run like two, two faders, two inputs on the
Yeah.
board, one with one, run the same source through it. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm thinking more about is one cable. You know what I'm saying? If you
well,
run that kind of a test with one cable,
well,
are you going to hear a difference?
I don't think so. That's why I think where maybe the higher end cables make more sense. If you had to make an argument for it, is
Mm-hmm.
that when you're talking about 50 of them running 15 to 25 feet in length,
Mm-hmm.
that are all bundled together and as best as you can away from power cables and stuff, but they're not always going to be. That from an overall system noise point of view, the more expensive cables you would think would be. I know this system is absolutely dead silent.
Yes, it is.
So I don't. There is something to be said for a more expensive cable. Where it makes sense and where doesn't it make sense, I'm not even quite sure. But when we had that problem also too, part of the reason why we went to the Mogamis is you couldn't, because of all the supply chain issues, you couldn't get all the cables that we wanted in the appropriate lengths.
Yeah.
The only ones that were
hoses.
the only ones that were fully in stock really were Mogamis because they're expensive.
Yeah,
So
and
they
even
don't
then,
sell
fully in stock, where you had to buy them from 3 different places to get enough.
right. So it was just one of those things where it was like, I think because we tore down the studio so many times at that point, and that we didn't want to deal with any more technical issues. We got tired of the technical issues.
Yes.
That I just said, I don't know if this is the right thing to do, but I'm going to take this variable out of the equation, and we're buying all Mogami and Jumper Z, and then that way we know the cable ain't the problem. And that's what we did. Now, funny, we're just talking about HOSA. I think I told you this week, there was one HOSA cable left on this board, and it was the cable that went from where you can hook up, a CD player or a DVD player. What do they call that? The extension?
That's the D'Addario cable, isn't it?
No, that was a HOSA cable.
Oh, okay.
It's called they call it the external in.
Yes.
So you have external inputs. So on the console, you can have, I think, 4 different pairs. You have 4 because it's an 8 channel. It's a D sub. So you can have 4 components. So if you wanted to watch a movie and have the sound come out of your console and your speakers, you can. I have a turntable hooked up, so on and so forth. Anyway, I was hooking up one of those external components, and one of the left, it was only sound coming out of the right side. I unplugged, replugged, checked all the cables, swapped things around. Something in that connector, in that HOSA cable, although I checked the connector, it's soldered, everything looked good, nothing looked damaged. Something went out. Now, one of the pins are bad. I have no idea. So that was the last HOSA cable. I yanked it out this week and put a Mogami Gold in there, and as soon as I plugged in, everything worked flawlessly. So again, I don't know. Yeah. I can't say HOSA cables are bad cables because I don't think they're bad cables. I just think it depends on how many you need in your system, how long are they going to be. You know, that I think may have some judgment, you know, to think about. But it doesn't mean you couldn't, like you said, you got a whole studio of hosts. It's perfectly fine. So I don't know. Yeah. So that's how that's kind of the story and how we ended up with all these expensive cables. It was I just finally got sick and tired of pulling cables in and out of this system every 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing too is like you're comparing at the same token too, is like, yes, this studio is all HOSA Pro. The longest cable in this thing is 10 feet.
Right.
The longest cable in here is 10 feet long. You're talking about regular standard 1/4 inch and XLR interconnect cables. You're not talking about a DB25 cable,
right,
which is its own animal, and the quality level of these cables is more than adequate for what I'm doing, but these are very basic cables as compared to a DB25 cable, which is it's a very complex piece of equipment.
Yeah.
I mean, like those cables are incredibly complex. They are very heavy.
Yeah.
And you're sending a lot of signal through them in different directions at the same time. So they've got to be shielded to a degree that a regular interconnect cable doesn't necessarily have to be shielded. So I can definitely see where the difference in the price is going to make a bigger difference, I think, in that than it would in a basic 5 foot, 1/4 inch TRS interconnect cable is going to make a difference.
Yeah,
that's my opinion.
There's probably a lot of truth in that. And again, I don't know from a technical or tech standpoint or a specification standpoint. And again, I don't know. All I know is that most of the hosts we used were working okay. We had a few issues in there. We decided to swap them all out and not deal with it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, it wasn't necessarily because we were anti-HOSA.
No, not at all.
It was because HOSA didn't make a cable longer than 15 feet.
That's right. Or
at
least you couldn't get, if they do, I couldn't find any.
Yeah, and we needed 20s. Well, no, you go on the HOSA website, and their D-sub cables they max out at 15 foot.
Okay, well then there you go.
Don't make them longer than 15 feet.
Right. Well,
so like we needed 20s, so that right then and there, HOSA was disqualified because they didn't make the cable to begin with.
Right.
So then it turned into, well, who makes 20s? And it was like, well, there's a few different ones that make it. But your only two real choices at that length are Mogami and Jumpers. Mm-hmm. And Jumpers were out of stock
Yeah,
everywhere,
pretty much.
and Mogamis were short stock. Like I said, you bought, if I remember correctly, you bought freaking Mogamis from Sweetwater, Alto, and B&H.
No, Vintage King.
And Vintage King. So you
Yeah.
had to buy them from 3 different
Yeah,
places
to buy like 8
to,
cables, I had to
to
buy 'em
buy
from
8
yeah.
cables, and
Yeah.
and you killed the stock at all 3 places.
Yeah,
to
I
get
wiped
'em.
them out because they didn't
Yeah.
because everybody's short on stock with everything today.
Yeah, so it's like, at that point in time, it wasn't even really a matter of, okay, well, we're choosing to go this way because of reason. The reason we chose to go this way is because it's all we could find, and neither one of us are patient enough to wait.
No, well, no, because because like you said, when you do one of these projects, you're really ripping down the whole damn studio to do these things. It's not like it's a 5-minute fix; it's a 5-hour fix.
Yeah, well, yeah, that day that we set the I don't know, we did talk about this in that one video, but the day that we set all those cables up with the interconnects and everything else, that was the day that we redid the studio. I got there at 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah, it was like a 12-hour day.
I left at like 5:30 in the afternoon.
It was a long day.
It was a long day.
And then next week, had to rip it down again. Not all the way, but rip down part of it again the very next week because we were having those problems. So
yeah, because we had to pull all those cables and put the other ones in, and then we ended up pulling half of the cables out just to get them all routed together
right, to try to get the sizes right and everything else.
Yeah,
so.
and that was another 3 or 4 hours of crawling around on your knees, running cables and stuff. And,
Crazy. Crazy.
And neither one of us are that young anymore to be crawling around all the time.
It takes a toll on my body. Unique, thanks so much for the super chat, brother. He
He
says Proco has never given me a problem. We do have a lot of Proco in the from the gear
racks.
to the patch bay. Yeah, there's a lot of Proco, and they make good quality. Again, they're not cheap either. They're expensive.
Yeah, and props to Proco for labeling those cables as well as they do.
We have a lot of Proco that goes from the gear XLR to D-sub. A lot of the breakout cables are Proco.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for the super chat, my friend.
Yeah, appreciate that, man. That's pizza for the next time I'm there.
Yeah. Jason says he has mostly HOSA and Cable Matters, and they're great. Very little RF interference with clean power, though. Yeah, but you have clean power. We have clean power. I got really good power conditioners. I think it all adds up. Again, I don't think it's one thing. I think it's clean power, good power conditioners, good quality cables, routed the right way, cable managed the best you can, keep them away from power as much as you can. Yeah. And I think all of that matters. And the more cables you have, the more chance of that can happen. Yeah. And I'm really pleasantly but surprised, but kind of shocked how quiet the system is. I turn all this gear on. You don't hear a hum, a hiss, nothing.
No, it's dead quiet in that room.
And I got to think that the cabling is part of that equation. It's certainly not all of it, but it certainly has to be part of it.
Yeah, and one technical thing that I just thought of too, that when you're talking about the power cables and audio cables, is if you do have to cross power and audio cables, you want them to cross at a 90-degree angle.
Like an X.
You do not want a power cable to run alongside.
Right.
An audio cable, if at all possible.
Well, we took all those with those wire managers. We took one big, and we put all the power cables in one.
Yeah, so it's like this big around.
Yeah, so there's no power cables physically in the racks even touching another cable.
Yeah, and all the audio cables are going vertically past that horizontal gang of cables. Yeah, and that's an important consideration too, is that you don't have power cables running alongside of your audio cables, and that went a long way too, I think, towards it, because we did pay a lot of attention to that.
Yeah, we did.
Putica
asks, are you using the console for mixing or just a big summing box? Oh no, it's mixing. People have asked me that. You can use the Origin. You can use your faders in the DAW. They have this little button on all the channels called the 0 dB button. And what that does is when you engage that on all the channels, it takes the fader out of the circuit. So you can just run it through, and then you can mix in your DAW if you want to. Terry from... what's the name of his what's his studio?
Forest
Studio. Yeah, Forest Studios out in Maryland or wherever he's at. That's how he uses his Origin. He mixes he mixes in the box, and he uses the Origin for tracking and then as a summing mixer. But I use it here for mixing. It's not just a big summing box.
I've said it in other videos, and okay, and I'm like, okay, my position on it may be a little extreme, but if you're going to use it as a summing mixer, why would you buy a freaking SSL console? Just go out and buy a summing mixer. You know what I mean? Go out and buy a Dangerous Music summing box and set it up and go that way. Why are you going to have that sitting there unless you're going to use it? You know what I mean? Instead, for more than just a summing mixer.
Yeah, or you're going to track through it.
Yeah, well, tracking through it, I get, and I get that. But even Terry using it as a summing mixer after tracking on it, I'm like, dude, you got a freaking Origin sitting there. Why aren't you mixing on it?
Because it's you know why? It's because of the recall. That's why.
Is it all recall for him?
Yeah, I would imagine that's why most people do it.
Yeah.
Where okay. I don't care about that because I don't do recalls, and you'll see that video coming up in a couple of weeks. You guys think your heads, you think the comment section would go crazy. Wait till you hear my position on recalls.
Oh, you're gonna turn. Oh, you know what? Just for the hell of it, leave comments turned on for that, please, just so we can see the shit.
But that's why because they don't want to deal with the recall. And I get it. If that's a concern for you, then no analog mixer is probably the answer for you, unless you're just going to use it as a summing box or just a tracking front end. Yeah. Then it makes sense. Yeah. Hey Malcolm, thanks for the.
If you're tracking on it, I get that. Okay. Yeah. If you're tracking on it, but if you're a mixer, flat out, if just the mixing portion of our day,
right?
If all you're going to use it for is as a summing box, then go buy a Dangerous Music summing box and don't bother with all of that. That's to me. But if you're tracking on it, then fine. That's a whole different thing, and I'm down with that.
Well, it's funny because out of all the consoles, again, I can't say all of them, but the one that's was really built, most consoles are a recording console and mixing as a second thought.
Yeah.
SSL is one of the few mixers that have ever been made that was really built for mixing. It's really the other way around. So I find it funny that people will use it and not use it as a mixer. But that's cool though. Malcolm,
Dark Joint would like to know when the hybrid mixing course will go live. Well, damn it, we got to film the damn thing first.
Yeah, it's going to be a while. It's maybe towards the end of this year, if not the beginning of next year. Malcolm, thanks for the super chat, brother. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate that, Malcolm.
Thank you, Malcolm.
I mean, the other side of a hybrid mixing course is designing that course is going to be a challenge unto itself because there's so many levels to this that you would want to cover.
I'm not sure. This course is going to take a lot of planning. Way more than the stuff that I've done in home recording made easy. That's easy. It's in the box. It's simple. This is way more involved because there has to be multiple cameras. You guys have to be able to see the detail. And when you work like this, you're not, when you're working in the box, it's just kind of like what we're doing here. I'm sitting in front of a screen and I'm talking to you and you see my mouse on the screen. Yeah. But when you're working with analog in a console, you're constantly moving. And it's constant mobility, so that you can't have just a static camera. You really got to have a mobile camera. So if we go over to the rack and touch a compressor, you want to be able to see that detail and see what we're doing. And that's where it's going to get a little tricky. So it will come out for sure.
Yeah.
When it will come out, I'm not really sure yet, but it is definitely going to happen.
Yeah, it's the amount of work that's going to go into making that course for him, for me, and for whoever else we're going to have to involve in doing it. It's going to be a logistical thing where we're going to have this planned out practically minute to minute so that we have everything covered, planning this is going to be a months-long process.
And then the editing of the video is going to be enormous. So
that's all you, brother.
I'm probably going to have to hire some help to do this right and to make this thing so it's helpful to people. It's going to have to be more of a professional level production than what I would typically do. So that's where some of the stuff will come in, but when it gets done, it'll be done right, and you won't find anything else like it on the market. I could promise you that.
All right.
So it will be done right.
Public, how can you move more than 5 to 6 faders at once? I don't need to be arrogant, but I'm just curious how you can physically move them a few faders at a time. Are you recording your moves back in the DAW? Okay, let's talk about automation here, okay?
Well, that's not what he's asking. He's asking.
It is, yeah, he is asking about automation.
Well, no, he's asking about, can you touch more than 5 or 6 faders at once? Well, you got 10
Yeah.
fingers, so you can move 10 at once if you want to.
Yeah, but what he says, how can you physically move then a few faders? Are you recording your moves back into the DAW? Okay,
Some of them,
you are
not all of
talking
them.
about automation. You know, because
Some of
you're
them.
basically setting the static mix on the board,
Mhm.
and then you're doing your automation in the DAW itself without changing the board.
That's
Okay.
right. That is, if you wanted to do automation that way, you would, let's say you add your vocal track, for example, and you would set your nominal static level on the board, and then you use your fader in the DAW for the automation moves.
Yep.
The problem, or the problem with that is, if you see it as a problem, is that your automation moves are happening before they hit the compressor and the hardware on the board.
Yeah.
So let's say you have a compressor on a vocal, which you typically would. So if your compressor's hitting, if you set up your compressor to the level that's on the console, then when you're hitting it with automation, if you start raising the level, you're now hitting the compressor harder, and it's changing some of your compression, and that's true.
Yeah.
So that's one thing, and it's not so I do that sometime, and then honestly, some of the way I automate, depending on what it is, I automate it live to the print track. So there is no automated move. It's live. So the way I typically do automation, it's usually subtle, and there's usually a lot of automation moves, but it's not major automation. It's more getting the music to kind of move and breathe a little bit. So by me doing that in the DAW, and now I'm hitting the compressor a little bit harder on the way in, it really doesn't change the overall mix that much, because let's say I'm moving up the vocal a couple of dB. Even though it's hitting the compressor harder, it's still audibly louder. Yes, it's compressing a little bit more because I'm hitting it before the compressor, and that's technically backwards, but it still works. It still works. And honestly, I don't even do that with a lead vocal. I ride the lead vocal live to the print track. That's how I do it. And if they don't like, if let's say I got to make a change to the mix when I print it again, I ride it again.
Yeah.
So when you work this way, one of the things you just gotta kind of accept that there are some limitations in that way, and you gotta think the way they did it old school, because that's the way it was done old school.
Yep.
Unless you have a console, a modern console that has automation built in, and there are consoles that have that, but they're very expensive comparatively speaking to the origin.
Yep.
So what I found was, I can write the automation in the DAW. It's working. Let's just say this. I've written enough automation into the DAW hitting the compressor with that automation, and I haven't had a client say anything about it or say, oh, something with the mix isn't right. You know what I mean? It works.
Yeah.
It's not ideal.
Yeah.
There are companies that make hardware units for that purpose. Like West Audio makes something called the NG Leveler, which kind of solves that problem. I won't get into it all here. But honestly, so far, it hasn't been a problem.
Yeah.
It just really hasn't, though.
Publica, I'm going to put a link in the chat right now. That is to my live stream mixing video. Okay. So what you can watch me in actual real time set the mix up from all faders down to having a full-on static mix and basically run the whole thing. Okay.
But you didn't do any automation, did you?
I did not do any automation,
Okay.
but what he's saying is I'm reading his comments, and it's like I think he's having a hard time conceiving how you set a mix on a board.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? How you set the mix on the board from zero to having a mix. So like I said, what I'm basically doing is I'm shoving that video down your throat, basically, so that you can go and watch it actually happen.
Okay, he says, sure, but how can one person mix more than a few faders in real time? That's amazing to me. Okay, so no, I hear what you're saying. Well, again, what do you, let me ask you a question again, and everyone mixes differently. In the box, how many faders are you moving at the same time? What are you grouping things and moving 15 faders all at once? I mean, I don't ever mix that way.
No,
I mean,
I mix one fader. I mix one fader at a time in the box.
When we're setting up a mix and you're using two hands, and if I'm writing something, depending on what it is, I can move 2, 3, 4 faders at once. There is a little bit, you know, honestly, there's a little bit of practice and dexterity that you need to get that down, but you can do it. I don't find the need to have 10 faders all moving at the same time. To me, would never even do that in the box. So I don't know where that's kind of, not really sure I understand, but it really hasn't affected what I'm doing. He says, you never try mixing on a console, but when I'm mixing, I have a constant change of levels of everything. Okay.
Yeah. No kidding.
All right. Yeah. Well, you have to, well, yeah. So you got to, when you go from working in the box to the console for the first time, I mean, Dave will tell you, because he did it. It takes a minute to kind of get your hands and go, okay, because you know what it's like conceptually, but until you get in front of it and actually do it, it's like driving a different car altogether. It's a different type of a vehicle you're driving, and it takes a minute to figure out what works and where do your hands need to move. And here's the thing you got to really pay attention to, especially if you're going to write automation, if you're going to ride stuff live, which is what I do. You really got to know the sections of the song. You really got to understand the song. You got to know what your moves are going to be before they're going to happen. And and this is where some engineers will say, and now I kind of understand why they make this statement. They say working on a live desk is like playing an instrument. It is. You are playing. That is part of the instrument. Part of the final mix is how you're manipulating that thing in real time. It really, truly is. And some of it you can do in the box and you can draw it in so it's very consistent. But a lot of it is, it's you know, some guys call it, they're doing the dance, man. They're dancing with it as it's going to tape. That's how it used to be done. And again, you could say, oh, well, now you can't go back. And if you want to go back, it's completely different. And how do you go back? You don't go back. You make a commitment. You get a good sound. You can, you know, like they say when you record, we're gonna record it to tape. We're gonna commit to the sound on the front end. We're not gonna say, well, let's just record 15 dry guitar tracks and then let's pick 700 guitar tones at mixing. No, we're going to get a great guitar sound and we're going to record the guitar sound. And guess what? That's the guitar sound that we have on the record. And mixing is similar in that fashion. Now, you can't do it with everything, but you really can do it with most things. You truly can. You know, I don't, some of those things that are really conveniences about working in the box, which are wonderful, and I thought I would miss those features a lot more on the console, but I got to tell you, I really don't miss them. I just say we're making a commitment. This is the mix. This is how it sounds. You don't like it and you want me to redo it, then we're going to write it again and it's going to sound a little different. And that's why every mix is going to have its own unique sound to it. It's going to be in the moment. It's no different than when a band plays a song live in the studio and they catch that magic take and it never sounds that way again. It's the same thing. And that's part of the beauty of it, but it's also part of, you got to kind of live with what you get too, you know?
Yeah. And that's like I said, like you said, like I know
it's all a different way of working.
Yeah, I mean, like my first time sitting in front of that board, and I think I said it in that live stream too. Is like your first time sitting in front of that board. That board is huge. You know, when you're sitting in front, the first time you sit in front of that board is huge, and it is a little intimidating. Right. The first time you sit in front of it. But what amazed me was how small the board got, and how fast that happened.
Yeah, once you get used to it.
It's like once you got your hands on it and you started working with it, the board got really small. And you got the first 5 minutes were like, what the hell am I doing? Yeah. And then it was like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah. Once you get past the first 15 minutes of like, oh shit, this is a little scary. Then you go, oh, now I'm getting it. and then you start moving around.
By the end of it, I was having more problems controlling which camera I had turned on than I was the board. You know, I'm like, oh crap!
Well, yeah,
I
you
didn't
were
know
doing you were doing it live too, which is not always easy. So
I'm like, I'm doing camera switches, and like I still remember too. It was like I had the DAW up on the screen, and I forgot to switch to the live camera when I went over to the rack and started dicking around with all the compressors and stuff. So all the compressor moves were all they were watching was the DAW.
Right.
Like, oh crap! I'm sorry, you guys, you didn't get to see any of that.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna try to be a little bit better about that next time I do it. But you know, it was so much fun.
Yeah, Putica says.
Unique wants to know how much are you using the UC1 since getting so much analog gear.
I don't even have it anymore.
We're not.
That's the SSI. I don't have it. I got rid of that. I did a couple of videos on it and I got rid of it. It's great piece of gear. I just don't need it.
Mm-hmm.
So I never used it. I thought again, not knowing, thought we were going to use it. Sounded like a good idea. Right now I'm using so few plugins. I don't need it.
Yeah. He sold the UC1 and the UF8.
Yeah,
we don't have either one of them anymore.
They're both gone. They're great units. Nothing wrong with them. They worked really well. They just didn't feel right in the workflow for me personally.
Yep. We're talking about moving. We were talking about it the other day. We're talking about moving at least one of the 500 racks into the board.
Maybe at one point, not right away, but maybe at one point, yeah, because there's room there now. So maybe at one point. Putica says, I understand it's just not for me. Static levels are just not cutting it. No, yeah, my mixes are not static. There's a lot of there's automation in there. But here's the other thing too. I'll say about automation again. Automation doesn't make you a good mixer. Let me tell you what. If you should be able to balance, if you can't balance a mix on a console to where nothing has to be touched, if that mix doesn't sit right, then you got problems long before automation. Automation ought to be done in a very subtle way to give the music a little bit of movement. So you're not, if you, again, I know guys that automate every single track. I don't do that. There's maybe 4, 5, 6 moves depending on the track. You don't have to have a crazy amount of automation. If you got the balance right and you got the separation right and you got the compression right, so you get that 3D thing happening, you don't need to have a bunch of, right? Because we've talked about this in mixingmadeeasy.net. There's certain mixers that they worry so much about the fancy stuff, they don't even have the basics down.
Yeah.
Give me a mix. Give me a mix that's balanced right, that has the right kind of clarity, that has the right EQ, that they understand how to compress and not over smash the shit out of everything and get it sitting right. That mix will sound better than anybody that can't do those things but can have a ton of automation moves in them. Automation is not the answer to that. Automation should be very, very subtle and it should be very, very tasteful.
Yep.
So I don't know why you would need to move 15 faders at once. That doesn't even make sense to me, but that's just me, you know.
Publica, I'm going to say something here. Publica says, I'm just amazed by his skill. Publica, when the album that he's mixing right now comes out, you will be amazed by his skill. I have heard some of the mixes he's doing for this album, brother.
You're far too kind. Well, the music is really good. The recordings are really good.
I get that, dude. I get that.
And there is automation in every one of those mixes, but I got to tell you, there's not a lot. And a lot of it is live. A lot of those automation moves on this record are to the print track.
Yeah. But what I am saying flat out is, you know, with everything he's ever shown us and everything he's ever done on all of the videos, on all of the channels and all the Mixing Made Easy stuff and all the choruses and everything else, you really haven't heard what this man is capable of until you hear this album. This thing sounds unbelievably good. I was like, I sat in front of that board and he played me a couple of the mixes and I was stunned, man.
Oh, thanks, man. That's very kind of you.
I was absolutely stunned. So, you know, it's you know, when we can go public with that album, everybody who watches this channel had better go out and buy the goddamn thing. Because
if you like rock music, you'll like the record. It's a good record. I mean, if you like, you know, rock, it's kind of it's good stuff, you know. But yeah, I think you guys, I mean, there's enough variation of music on the record that there's probably songs for everybody that you would like, even if you don't like the whole record.
Yeah, and plus the level of musicianship that's being played on that album is
That's
unbelievable.
and again, that's that's the key. I mean, when you have great songs and you have great musicians and they know how to play, then mixing it ain't rocket science, man. It really isn't. The biggest part of mixing is really getting a balance. I find that getting the balance is 90% of the battle in analog.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Before automate, without even, I don't even put a compressor in, nothing. Just EQ and balance and panning. That's 80% of mixing on the board for me. And then once it's sitting right and it sounds really good, then I start going to the rack and adding our little flavors of ice cream to spice things up, or control a vocal or something. But you could almost not compress anything, because the board in and of itself is a big compressor, really. It compresses everything so well that if the tracks are recorded halfway decent, you don't need a mountain full of compression. You really don't.
Yep.
So
yeah, I mean, for that matter too, the level. I mean, I was saying this to you the other day. It's like, what's amazing to me too, like having some hardware compressors in here and working in yours too, is like you can hit those compressors so much harder than you can hit a plug-in and not sound bad.
Yeah, it's a different animal for sure.
It's a completely different animal. I mean, like I can bury the needle on one of my compressors on the hardware compressor in this room, and it doesn't sound bad. You bury the needle on a plug-in compressor, and it's gonna sound like crap. I mean, maybe somebody can, but I can't. And so it's like I said, the differences between hardware and plugins, I mean, there's a lot of people but they got the plugins so close. And yeah, they got the plugins so close.
They're close.
But they also don't.
Well, they just react. They just react differently.
Yeah. Like I said, and so like you say too, like going over, like not putting a compressor on, and it's not really all that compressed. It's not all that compressed, but the stages of compression between running through every channel of the board, running in and out of the buses, running here, running there, running through the fusion, that every stage is compression.
Right.
Every stage of that.
Every single stage. So you don't have to smash the daylights out of everything. I try not to compress I really don't try to compress anything if I don't have to. I really don't. Yeah. If it doesn't need it, you got to be also too, I find, well, it's the same in the box, but I think about it more analog, is that you want to do things with a much more purposeful, you want to do things with a purpose. You want to think about, why am I doing this, more than, in the box, you can get the plugins and, oh, well, we got a plugin, we got to throw it on there. Where in the analog domain, it's like, okay, well, we don't have as many compressors as we do channels on the board. So not everything can get a compressor, right? So you got to say, well, what really needs it? Why am I really compressing this at all? Does it really need it? I mean, half the record I'm mixing, all the electric guitar tracks, most of them are no compression at all. Yep. There isn't any. There's no reason to have it. It doesn't, if it's not going to improve what you're doing, don't do it. Don't do it. And so thanks, Brian, for the super chat. Oh, and thanks, Unique. I don't know if I said thank you.
Yeah,
thank you for that.
You guys are awesome. Thank you all so much.
Thanks for that.
I appreciate that. Dark Joint says, and this is a great question, actually, are there any future plans to build an online community for a hybrid mixing similar to your other In the Box channel?
Well, this channel is kind of that to some degree. I don't know, to be totally honest. And the reason why I don't know is this, because when we first started, I mixed 2 full songs on YouTube. Yep. No one really watched those videos. There doesn't seem to be an interest in that so far. Now, the channel's still small. I want to only create the videos that you guys want to watch. And so the channel is kind of that Dark Joint to some degree, where like we compared gear to plugins. We've done converter shootouts.
Yeah, we did those.
We've done some mixing on the console. Dave did a live stream. I've done, there's 15 videos, 2 songs. Those seem to be the least popular videos. So because of that, I said, well, then I really don't need to do those if you guys really don't want to watch them.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it'll probably be somewhere. It probably will be something like that other channel, but I don't know that it'll be quite like that other channel. It really depends on you guys in the audience and what video we put up. We're putting up a mix of different types of videos, and I'm very much in tune to which ones are being viewed and which ones aren't. And the ones that get the most views, the ones that people really want to see, those are the ones I'm trying to gravitate towards.
Yeah.
And so if people want to see more mixing demonstrations, I'll do it. But so far, people don't really want to see those.
Yeah.
Some people do, but most people don't.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'm curious because, like I said, I'm gonna within probably the next month or so, I'm gonna be doing a live stream mix off the channel.
Yeah,
I'm curious. I'm curious to just see what the reaction's gonna be. So I mean, yeah, Juan, I'm telling you, my man,
will watch it.
Juan, this is like the Audio Geeks Paradise channel. We just haven't been discovered yet.
Yeah, we want to make the content you guys want to see, because it doesn't matter to us. We love all of it, so it doesn't make any difference to us if you say do this. If we can do it, we're going to do that.
Yeah, we'll do it.
We're only trying to do what you guys really want to watch. If you guys want to watch, if you want to see something very specific, we'll do that. If you want us to do more live streams, we'll do those. That's why we did this little test tonight, because we wanted to make sure that we can do this where we don't have to be in the same room together all the time, that we could do this over the internet. And it's working.
Driving 90 miles to your house when gas is $5 a gallon.
Yeah, exactly. So if we don't have to be in the same room all the time, we can do stuff away from and so it really depends on what you guys want to see. And that's what we're going to try to do. And so we don't, outside of a few ideas of, we have new gear we haven't demoed yet and did videos on. We've done gears against their plug-in counterparts. We got some more of those coming.
Yep.
We just want to make what you guys want to see, because we love it all. So it doesn't make any difference to us.
Yep. And if I could do more from here, if people want to see a much smaller scaled version of a hybrid mixing setup, although it's growing rapidly, yeah, we could do more. I could do more of that from here too. But people have to be interested in it too. I mean, it's a
lot of work to do.
Yeah,
this.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of time, because I'm about to pull the plug on this live stream anyway, because I've said it before on the channel, but I don't think I've really told people my day job. My day gig is a big thing. I mean, I was at work at 6:30 this morning. And I didn't get out of work until 5:15, and then I had to drive through Memorial Day hell traffic to get home for this, So I work extremely long days during the week. So for me to invest the time in something like that, it's got to be worth it. It's got to have some kind of a, I don't want to use the word payoff, but it's the word that matches it most. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like there's got to be something for it other than just, four guys thought it was cool.
Well, yeah. I mean, for me, it's a full business, so I'm going to keep making content for it. But again, I'm trying to make more content that's more, popular, where it's like, okay, this is what people want to see, so it's worth their time. If I'm making a bunch of videos that people don't care about, then it's a waste of their time and it's a waste of my time. And so so I hope that answers your question.
So, I mean, I would love to do more. I mean, I have my own YouTube channel, for God's sake. I haven't put a video up on it in 2 months because I just don't have time.
Right.
So so it's like I mean, there's more I could do from here, but it's got to be worth doing. So like I said, if people show interest in, because we're going to do that video anyway. So if people start showing more interest in what I do here and what my setup is like, then I could do that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But I to me, it's just it's got to be of interest to more than one or two people, to me.
Right. Right.
For me, for it to be worth putting the time in.
Right.
But like I said, I am going to have to insist that we pull the plug on this.
Well, let's do 5 more minutes. Any more questions? We'll stay 5 more minutes. That's it. Oh, and by the way, there's a Memorial Day sale at Home Recording Made Easy. No one knows unless you're on my email list.
Saw the email.
Everything is 50% off if you use the coupon code. Maybe someone could put it in the chat. SOFT50, SOFT50. Every course on the website is 50% off. So just use that at checkout. So if you're in the box and you want to learn about mixing, mastering, EQ, compression, parallel compression, if you want to learn how to use analog style plugins to mimic the analog workflow, there's a whole 20-hour course just on that alone. You can get everything at 50% off. Just go to homerecordingmadeeasy.com. Use the coupon code SOFT50. Thanks, Dave, for putting it in there.
You are welcome, sir.
And you guys get 50% off all that kind of training. So any more questions, we'll do 5 more minutes, and then we're going to split, because this was supposed to be just a test, and now it's an hour and a half, which is fine.
Yeah,
How about a video mixing a song in the box and out of the box simultaneously? I mean, what do you think? I got 15 arms? I could do that.
Wow. We could
If that makes demonstrating difference in sound. Well, yeah, we did. Well, I did it for mixingmadeeasy.net. We've done that once already. Again, that video is on the list to be done. Where, here's the problem with that kind of a video, because it's never going to be a one-to-one comparison. So if I mix everything on, and I did this for mixingmadeeasy.net, the guys here that are members, we just did it 2 months ago. I mixed the song on the console, and then I brought it into the box and used the same kind of SSL channel strips. I tried to use a lot of the same plugins where the hardware to try to match it up is exactly the same. It's never going to be exactly the same. And if I put that on YouTube, it's going to be, it's not a great representation, because there are differences between which plugin models, which piece of hardware. They're not all one-to-ones. That's the first thing. The second thing is that the sound is not the same. It just isn't the same. And no matter what I do in that video, there's going to be people saying, oh, you didn't do this, and only if you did this, and if you only use that plugin, and if you only did this, and you didn't set it up the same. There'll be more people that will be unreasonably critical, because those people want to believe that the plugins can sound identical. Yeah. And we told you in a video very recently, and we'll tell you again tonight if you didn't see that video, the plugins don't sound the same. They just don't. There is no way. I've tried to get the two mixes to sound almost identical, and they just don't. And so there is a pretty big difference in sound. And so, to do a video like that, and then that'll be a video. I got to disable all the comments, because it'll just be a big hate fest. It just will be. I just know it will be. There's no way for me to try to make them sound exactly the same. There's just no way, because they don't sound exactly the same. They're not even really close, to be honest.
Yeah. I was actually going to do that idea of an in the box mix and out of the box mix when I did my live stream mix, but I dropped it when we got demonetized.
Yeah.
Because I thought that was a private file. I did not know that, of course, and it was CD Baby, of course.
Yeah.
But I did not know that, that was a possessed song. And so we got demonetized, and I'm like, I'm not going to demonetize 2 videos. Yeah.
And honestly, I don't know that there's a lot of value in us turning into the channel. I don't want to turn into the channel. Analog is better than digital. We've done there's enough videos already where we've compared the gear to the plugin, where you can hear the differences in a single piece of gear. I don't know that there would be a whole lot of value in that, to be totally honest. I just don't see why. We're not here to compare it to something else and say this one's better or that one's better. Yeah. It's just, so I understand why you'd ask for the video, but I just know that it's not going to be well received. And I'll end up having to spend half my time deleting comments and blocking people from the channel. I just don't see any value in it.
Yeah.
If you want to know if it sounds the same, it doesn't. And it's as simple as that. And just like the guy I had a block today who wanted to tell me, that I didn't know what unless you I could put up a video with sound examples over YouTube, and you will not be able to appreciate the real differences until you actually work on both in the room. You just won't be able to. So anyhow, let's see. Any more questions? Then we'll head out of here. Let's see. Thanks for answering your question. Thank you. Thanks, Malcolm. Keep doing what you guys are doing. Thanks, Brian. Making memories with Benji. Oh, that's an interesting name.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. You are not wasting your time helping people like me. Awesome. Great.
Thank you.
Whatever
Thank
you guys
very
do,
much.
I will support your channel. Thanks for everything. Thank you so much.
Thank
All
you,
right. Well,
guys.
thanks everybody for showing up tonight. We'll do a more formal one, maybe, I don't know, in a few weeks or a month or whatever.
Yeah, maybe we'll announce it ahead of time so people will know it's coming.
Yeah, we'll let people know it's coming. So stay tuned to the channel. Videos are coming up. And, you know, if you guys have any video ideas and stuff, leave them in the comments section under the videos that are enabled. Or you can always send me an email. And if you have a video idea, and I'll put it on the list. And, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the deal. That's kind of the deal, man.
Yep.
All right, man. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks, Dave. And we'll talk to everybody later.
Thanks, guys.
Have a great weekend.